you get it?
I'm on vacation, always.
Well, so am I, my friend. Yet to me it was the Grand Canyon and the Mammoth Caves combined. Deep, dark, mysterious and dangerous. There was no possible way to cross. No matter how inventive, how resourceful I thought myself, this time, in sight of my goal, it seemed as if I must meet defeat. Suddenly, I saw an opportunity. If I could move the stick to the other side. I cursed myself. If only I were a little bigger, a little stronger.
The mist. That mist. Again, I had the sensation of instinct, of each movement, each thought tuned to some great directing force.
But suddenly I knew they were really the two ends of the same concept. The unbelievably small and the unbelievably vast eventually meet. Like the closing of a gigantic circle.
I was continuing to shrink,
As if somehow I would grasp the heavens.
to become
The universe.
what?
Worlds beyond number.
The infinitesimal?
God's silver tapestry, spread across the night.
What was
And in that
I?
moment I knew the answer.
Still a human being? Or was I the man of the future?
I thought in terms of man's own limited dimension. I had presumed about nature. That existence begins and ends is man's conception, not nature's. And I felt my body dwindle.
If there were other bursts of radiation, other clouds drifting across seas and continents,
Becoming nothing.
would other beings follow me into this vast new
My
world?
fears melted away. And in
So
their
close.
place came
The infinitesimal and the
all vast
infinite.
majesty of creation. It had to mean something.
But suddenly I knew they were really the two ends of the same concept. The unbelievably small and the unbelievably vast eventually meet, like the closing of a gigantic circle. I looked up, as if somehow I would grasp the heavens, the universe, worlds beyond number, God's silver tapestry spread across the night. And in that moment, I knew the answer to the riddle of the infinite. I had thought in terms of man's own limited dimension. I had presumed upon nature.
I meant something too.
That existence begins and
To
ends
God there is no zero.
is man's conception, not nature's. And I felt my body dwindling, melting, becoming
I still
nothing.
exist.
My fears melted away, and in their place came acceptance. All this vast majesty of creation, it had to mean something. And then I meant something too. Yes, smaller than the smallest. I meant something too. To God, there is no zero. I still exist.
So that was my strength performance. I know it's silly, but I just wanted to do it. And I did. The words I just spoke and the movie The Incredible Shrinking Man, the film that inspired the last, I don't know, 6 or 7 years of my life already. In this film, a man shrinks after being exposed to a cocktail of radiation and insecticides. And then in the final words he asks this thing, you know, am I the man of the future? Important question. Am I the man of the future? But he doesn't really answer the question. So I'll answer for him. Yes, small man, you are the man of the future. It won't be long until we follow you into this vast new territory. A world of ecological balance and abundance. So for 5 or 6.5 years now I've been investigating if and how the human species can shrink, become smaller. Unfortunately at the moment, of course, it's not the people who are shrinking, but it's our planet. So let's first quietly watch this stunning piece of evidence that the planet is actually shrinking.
Arne, you have everything.
I don't know. I'm
Something
looking.
under the book, no?
No, I have it.
Okay.
Ben jij ook van de performance? Of?
Nee, you are filming, making a video.
Oh? Ja.
Je bent echt opnemen. Ah, oké.
Ja, tomorrow on YouTube, or in 2 days on YouTube. En you?
Ik werk hier.
Oh, je werkt hier. Oh, sorry. Ja, nee. Oké. Okay.
Very typical Paul Groot. Is he
Pose.
having a conversation while filming?
And stealing your words
He is able to
and
split
abusing
himself in
them.
two.
Sure. Lou, let's get out of this place before we both go crazy.
Somewhere where nobody can find us?
All right, Scott. I'll look for something. My prison. Almost as far as I could see. A gray, friendless area of space and time. I had become the hunted. This time I survived. But I was no longer alone in my universe. I had an enemy, the most terrifying ever beheld by human eyes. I'll get a plumber down here tomorrow.
Ik mocht niet naar binnen. Dus.
My prison. Almost as far as I could see.
Time young Robert goes through a doorway, he scores a duck. And this is Robert's father, a mere dwarf of 6 feet.
Life. They even create an imaginary world around it. Some of it with a clear view of possibilities. But mostly, of course, with a deeply embedded fear for the cat. But unlike most films that abuse the idea of smallness as an easy theme to create the spectacle, the Incredible Shrinking Man ends where the idea of smaller should begin, with a message of hope, possibility, maybe even adventure. Perhaps then we will be willing to make the sacrifices necessary to achieve this reduction in size. Perhaps the idea of being able to crawl through a keyhole can turn something on within us. Or perhaps the whole image of a tiny woman turns us on. I've tricked my sons into not eating cheese. No, seriously, they don't eat cheese because I told them don't eat cheese. It's not good for you. You will grow taller than you will already grow. Like 85% of how tall your children become is genetic, and 15% is what else? Is environmental things like food, context, how much stress you have at home, etc., etc. So you can, with those 15%, you can easily start doing something yourself, right? Like not eat a lot of cheese, not eat a lot of sugar, which is of course the energy that you need to become big while you are growing up. I mean, for me, of course, it's too late. I'm not that weird. I don't think I can actually, although there are some. Human height is one of the most interesting things for scientists to investigate. So geneticists have consortia all over the world. They're working together to figure out what influences height. Because it's a polygenetic trait. It's not just one thing that influences height. It is hundreds of things. And on the chromosome, there are something like between 3,000 and 8,000 loci, places where there's DNA information that's related to how tall you become. So and if that one of the 8,000 goes up, then maybe one of the other 8,000 goes down. So it's very complex, and they will have years and years of research to figure it out. But at some point, they will know. And they will be able to, like a DJ almost, turn up and off the volume of height. I'm pretty sure. So it will happen, or at least they will want to do it, but the chances are that people will actually start using it to become even taller. Like the Chinese, they are drinking milk basically because they want to become taller, not because they like it that much, because there are lactose intolerance. So 90% of the people are drinking milk and they feel shitty, but they need to because they need to be taller. Now that's obsession for me.
And you're shrinking?
I'm pretty sure it's the same sort of neural paths in your brain that, I don't know. Yeah. Actually, I don't know. It's a good question. I mean, let's say hypertrophy, bigger muscles, is part of the same obsession.
No, I'm talking more about
health.
Being slim as a sort of magazine-like body you should have, which is created by...
I think more than this, I think it could be part of the same...
I mean, I applaud it, you know. It's good to go with less somehow. The body, it's our obsession with it. We are willing to put a lot of work into it. So yeah, I don't know. If you could do it for becoming, yeah, sure, yeah, we need to move.
I think we should start the film and then...
Did you become small, too small for your trousers? Or?
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's...
You're shrinking.
Yeah, that was, I was doing, that was the performance, yeah. I thought it was pretty obvious, but, you know, I know it's stupid, but I need to do it because I want to tell somebody tomorrow that I did it and that it was stupid. And somehow, I'm not stupid, I mean, I just need to experience how it is. I need to feel uncomfortable in those really tight pants and to understand that, yes, this is the world. We are wearing very, very tight pants. And then to sort of relax. Of course, it comes with a whole set of new problems because I'm constantly sort of, you know. So that's true, but that's also interesting because if we actually do shrink, then we will be confronted with a new set of problems that we need to overcome. But that's opportunity as well, you know. I could fit something in, you know. You could go shoplifting very easily. So, I don't know.
I drank a barium solution and stood behind a fluoroscope screen. They gave me radioactive iodine and an examination with a Geiger counter. I had electrodes fastened to my head.
If it's true. Scott, the story's going to break anyway, eventually. So whether you make them pay or not, they're going to make the most of it, so make them pay.
No, Charlie.
Well, think about it.
All right. I'll think about it. But really, was there any choice? We owed a great deal of money, and I had no job. There was no choice. None at all. And so I became famous.
And still, Robert Scott Carey, known to a nation as the incredible shrinking man, keeps getting smaller. How long will this phenomenon continue?
I want to apply for an enlisted line, please.
Thank you. I have some bad news for you. You're not short enough. I think the human species should be much smaller. And I'll try to tell you why, and I'll tell you some of the consequences, and I'll also tell you how I think we could actually achieve that. Because we all know that, of course, there are 7 billion people in the world by now. And that seems like rather a lot, especially if you think about the fact that at the dawn of agriculture, there were only 5 million people on the entire planet. And around the year 0, there were 200 million. And we also know that those people are all getting taller all the time. If you look at the statistics for the Dutch, we used to be the smallest people in the mid of the 19th century in Europe, together with the Italians and the Spaniards. Now we are the tallest people in the world. Now, of course, that represents an increased human height pressure. That means we just need more of everything. More energy, more food, more water, more space. Now, I can illustrate that by a funny thing that I found in the press not too long ago. This is a famous chair, right? You've seen it. It's the lounge chair by Ray and Charles Eames from 1957. It is like the classic of lounging and of relaxation. But Vitra, the company...
Scott, people know, they realize they're not laughing at you. They're not? No. Why not? It's funny, isn't it? But it is. See how funny I am? The child that looks like a man. Go on, laugh, Louise. Be like everyone else. It's all right. I must be losing my mind talking to you like this.
No, honey, I'm all right. I know what you must be suffering.
Do you? Yes, I guess it's been a nightmare for you, too. Sure.
Again, I had the sensation
Let's
of
get out of
instinct,
this place before we both go crazy.
of each movement, each
Somewhere where nobody
thought
can find
tuned to
us.
some great directing force.
I'll look for something.
Height, 36.5 inches.
Mr. Carey will remain here under observation.
Being 73% more than Nate Robinson. So let's illustrate that with Shaquille O'Neal, who you might remember. He retired by now, but he's one of my favorites. Now look at the difference in weight. Nate Robinson, who's actually quite average person, is about 82 kilograms and 175 centimeters. Shaquille O'Neal weighs a whopping 147 kilograms. That's almost twice as much. But of course he's not twice the length. So you see that illustrated perfectly. Now this is not, again, not very good design. So I think it would be a lot better. It would be a lot better if Shaquille O'Neal were a lot shorter. So let's first downsize him to Nate Robinson's. That would also make the game much fairer, of course. But let's not stop there. And look at his weight. If he's only 150 centimeters, and we all know people that are 150 centimeters, it's like on the bottom of what we consider to be rather normal still. If Shaquille O'Neal were only 100 centimeters, he would only weigh 16 kilograms, and so on and so forth. And actually, 50 centimeters is where I would like to take us. Not so long ago in Nepal, a guy was found, he was already existing, but we only found him by now, that was 54 centimeters, so it's not even so far off. But the nice thing is that if you're only 50 centimeters, you only need about 2% of the resources you need right now. And he had tools, he had fire. It was an intelligent being. Now this is interesting because he's living on an island. A lot of times when species get trapped on islands, they actually become very, very large or they become very, very small. You know, the turtles in the Galapagos. But then this man is very small. And there's a lot of small island species. And there's a lot of theories about it, food for one, etc. But the one that I find best is the fact that because they don't have any natural enemies anymore, they just grow into the size that they want to grow into. So if that's true, because there's no competition, there's not 7 billion competitors swarming around them and trying to take their place, which makes you become very, very small, and then you hide or something, or very, very large. So you grow into the size that you want to be. And that would mean that the human Homo sapiens is actually only 100 centimeters. Here's other evolutionary heroes of mine, the pygmies, who have this incredible substance called GHIH, growth hormone inhibiting hormone, which allows them to completely ignore growth hormone. So they will not become bigger even if you inject them with growth hormone. Now that's evolutionary intelligence for me. And these are my real heroes, the Laren people. They're only 120 centimeters, and they have this substance in the middle, which is a transporter hormone. And actually, because they don't have a lot of it, they don't transport a lot of it.
I was continuing to shrink. To become what? The infinitesimal? What was I? Still a human being? Or was I the man of the future? If there were other bursts of radiation, other clouds drifting across seas and continents, would other beings follow me into this vast new world? So close, the infinitesimal and the infinite. But suddenly I knew they were really the two ends of the same concept. The unbelievably small and the unbelievably vast eventually meet, like the closing of a gigantic circle. I looked up, as if somehow I would grasp the heavens, the universe, worlds beyond number, God's silver tapestry spread across the night. And in that moment, I knew the answer to the riddle of the infinite. I had thought in terms of man's own limited dimension. I had presumed upon nature that existence begins and ends is man's conception, not nature's. And I felt my body dwindling, melting, becoming nothing. My fears melted away, and in their place came acceptance. All this vast majesty of creation, it had to mean something. And then I meant something too. Yes, smaller than the smallest, I meant something too. To God, there is no zero. I still exist.
But now, stretching endlessly before me,